Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. We're continuing going through the rest of the Awakening set. We are now on Award Ceremony. Red neutral event, cost 1 resource. Spot a red character to draw cards equal to the number of exhausted characters you have. So this pairs really well with something like Squad Tactics, where you roll out all your characters. Let's say you're just running a Stormtrooper deck, 4 Stormtroopers. You use Squad Tactics to roll them all out at once on your next turn. You can then pay 1 resource, play Award Ceremony, and draw 4 cards, which you do get to draw cards at the end of the round, but if you know there's a card coming up in your deck and you really need it, like this round, you can use Award Ceremony to get that into your hand, and then if you have enough resources, you can then go ahead and play that on a subsequent turn during the same round instead of having to wait for a whole nother round to essentially draw something. And it's all variable, so you can draw, as many cards as you have exhausted characters. So this does work better if you're using something like I said, like 4 Stormtroopers or 1 unique and 2 non-unique characters, and both the non-uniques are exhausted, or even the unique can be exhausted too. But the best situation to use it in would be if you're running like all Stormtroopers, because you're just drawing more cards, and if you're just running a deck with 2 characters. So that's Award Ceremony. We're going to move into our next card. We are now on Dug In. It's another red neutral event, cost 1 resource. You can only play it if you control the battlefield, and you get 3 shields distributed to you among your characters as you wish. So you can put 3 shields on 1 character, you can do 1 on 3 different characters, 2 on 1, and so on. This is a card I would probably expect to be played, or I like to play it in decks where I know I'm going to be claiming the battlefield very often. So if I'm rolling out a lot of dice at once and resolving it very quickly, I can then claim the battlefield, and then on my next turn, I can pay 1 resource and get 3 shields. So 3 shields on like a character, let's say you're running blue and red, and you're playing like Dooku and Grievous, you can swing out a bunch of melee damage, claim the battlefield, next turn, get 3 shields, maybe throw 3 shields on Dooku, so that you're not having to constantly discard to use his ability, and then once those shields are gone, you can then get more shields by discarding to use his ability when he takes before he takes damage. You can discard a card to get a shield. You can also do that with Dooku and then throw the 3 shields on Grievous or any other character. It's a very, I think, low costed. I think it's balanced fairly well because you do need to, first of all, you need to control the battlefield. Secondly, you have to pay the resource. But if you're playing in a deck that's fast enough and resolving dice, doing a lot more actions and things before your opponent, you're probably going to be claiming the battlefield anyway. So this is a good card to get in there just to get a few more hit points essentially, and have a little bit more survivability among your characters. So that's Dug In. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Firepower, another red neutral event. 1 resource, resolve 1 of your red dice showing range damage, increasing its value by 1 or by 2 instead if you are resolving a vehicle die. So this works, I suppose it could work with Poe and Finn. So Finn can bring in the red enemy vehicles like the ATST and the TIE Fighter, and Poe has very good range damage as well, so you can resolve either Poe's range damage or the ATST or TIE Fighter's range damage. You increase it by 1, and then you increase it again since it's a vehicle, or if you just do it on a regular one, it increases it by 1. So Poe has a 2 damage side, can increase it by 1, making it 3. Could go very well in a deck with General Veers if you're running the same vehicles, TIE Fighters and ATSTs. You can resolve, let's say, a 4 damage on an ATST, play Firepower, that 4 becomes 6 damage because it's a vehicle die. So this could be something that you use to get like a final blow in a game. Let's say they're down to 4 health. You have 3 range damage showing on a red die. Play Firepower, resolve it for 4, and win the game. It's a nice way to increase value of a die and just do a bunch of damage. Granted, you only get to resolve 1 of them with this, though. You don't get to resolve a bunch of dice. You don't get to resolve one, increase its value, and then also resolve the rest. So it's something that works out if you only have one range damage die out and you have a bunch of other like blanks, or you've already resolved a bunch of dice. You can then play Firepower, increasing its value and doing a little bit more damage. So that's Firepower. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Leadership, red neutral event again, one resource. Exhaust one of your unique red characters to ready another character. Perfect example of this, or to use it with, is Akbar. Let's say you're doing Elite Luke, single Akbar, so 2 Luke die, 1 Akbar die. Akbar's die on its own really isn't particularly great. So what you're doing is you will roll out Luke, resolve what you can with him. You'll then, on another other part of your turn, pay 1 resource, play Leadership, exhaust Akbar, and then ready Luke again. So essentially you get 2 uses out of whatever dice are on Luke twice in a round. So roll Luke out, resolve his dice, do whatever damage you can do with him, pay 1, exhaust Akbar, ready Luke, and then roll him out again in another part of that turn. It's a nice way to get 2 uses out of a character by just exhausting a single character, especially if it's a character like a red character that you only have 1 of. So you're only going to be able to roll 1 die anyway. You might as well exhaust it, not roll it, so you can roll 2 dice that are going to do more stuff, especially if you have a character that has equipment on them. So like if you roll out 2 Luke dice, let's say a couple lightsabers and things like that, you can just do a bunch of damage and then be able to do that again in the same round by exhausting Akbar. So that's Leadership. We're going to move into the next card. We are now on Logistics. Red neutral event again. 0 resources. Spot a red character to resolve one of your dice showing resources, increasing its value by 1. So if you have a 1 resource die showing, you can play Logistics, resolve that 1 resource die, and add another resource. So that 1 resource becomes 2 resources. It's a nice card to have, especially if you don't have a lot of resource generation. If you have just like a couple of dice that have it, this is a nice way to get an extra resource, especially if you're trying to save up for bigger things like ATSTs or any other like big upgrades. Say you're playing blue-red and you really want to get your Mind Probe out and you're not drawing into your holocrons, you can Logistics on a resource die, resolve that, get 2, and then beginning of your next round you get 2 more. If you have them saved, you can then pay the 4 to get your Mind Probe out. Or if you have, let's say you have 4 stacked and you get 4, you roll a resource out, you can resolve it for 2, then have 6, so you can then play your ATST. Things like that. So it's just a nice way to get a little more resources out of your resource dice. And also it costs 0, so you're basically just getting a free resource. That's Logistics. We're going to move into our next card. And the final card for today is Squad Tactics, red neutral event again. 0 resources. Activate any number of your non-unique characters at once. So, great example of this is a Stormtrooper deck. 4 Stormtroopers, or let's say 3 Rebel Troopers. Play this, no resource cost required, and you get to roll out all those characters all at once, and whatever's attached to them. So let's say you have a 4 Stormtroopers. Let's say 2 of them have F-11D rifles, the other 2 have holdout blasters. You play Squad Tactics, roll all the Stormtroopers and all their weapons, basically into one big pool. So if you're trying to get a bunch of damage on the table all at once, this is a great way to do it. Downside though is it does only work on non-uniques, so you're not going to be able to like activate like a Django like this or a Veers or anything like that. You have to have Rebel Troopers, Stormtroopers, Tusken Raiders, Night Sisters, that kind of thing, and then of course you need to be playing red as well. So the best example, like I said, is 4 Stormtroopers. Just roll all 4 of them out, plus whatever weapons. Next part of your turn, if you roll well, you get a ton of damage. Just go ahead and resolve a bunch of damage, and maybe just drop a character, defeat a character with a ton of range damage. So that's Squad Tactics. That's the last card for today. I want to thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back again with another video in the future. Until next time, I want to thank you again for watching, and take care.